Welcome in, everybody. Episode 3 of RossRealTalk. This episode is about friendship and kind of about how to build friends, build friendships, build relationships, and how challenging that can be in your 20s, 30s, and even your early 40s. I have a very good friend of mine, and actually a relatively new friend of mine here, Brenna. Brenna and I have been friends through the online community for a while now. We stream together on Friday afternoons on Twitch and play some Baldur's Gate 3 together, and we've talked a lot about things like friendships and relationships. And so I thought how appropriate, how awesome it would be to bring Brenna in and have a conversation about friendships in what is for us really a relatively new friendship.
Hi, I'm Brenna. I am a Catholic convert as of, in July, it'll be just about 5 years. Well, July will be 5 years. I am super excited about an episode like this because this is actually something that is on my heart a lot as far as, thinking about people, quote unquote, my age, because you never ask a lady her age, ever, under pain of mortal sin and potentially death. So it's something on my mind that how people in my generation make friends, how truly tricky it can be when really on hindsight, it shouldn't be. And I can think of a number of reasons why it might be, but that is an area I've struggled in a bit myself. And in the community that we've met online, which did start as a cool Catholic community that we met in, or that I found, or had found me really, I started to find other people who liked other things that I liked, whether it was books, whether it was other writers, whether it was people who enjoyed playing tabletop games, people who liked going on hikes. I like hiking. I have gotten into working out. I've met other people who are also carnivores. I follow the carnivore diet, so about 99% of what I eat is meat or some animal product.
There we go.
So we've met all kinds of people under a common ground, which for me happened to be Catholicism. So potentially that is something someone can take away from this. If you find some common ground in a group, then you always can find people who are closer to other interests of yours. And then it's just a matter of being kind of brave enough to reaching out.
Yeah. And 90% because you don't eat meat on Fridays, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm also a bit of I'm a rad trad, you might say. So don't come to my house with pitchforks, please. But also, yeah, no, I don't eat meat on Fridays throughout the year.
Well, hopefully nobody shows up at your house from the podcast. That would be terrible, unless like you invite them, kind of thing.
Yeah. No. If you're invited, please come inside. But also be prepared that
This is an episode about how to make friends, but that's not a good way to make friends by just randomly showing up at somebody who is on this episode's house. Like that's
or it shows gumption. Or it shows gumption.
Right.
You know what? That could be pretty fun.
So real question. You're out there, you've been putting your name out there a lot, just trying to kind of like, one, build a community, but two, also intentionally build real relationships. How hard is that for you as somebody in that 20 to 40 age range?
It is difficult. So one reason it's difficult for me, since you've mentioned, building communities, one of the reasons I want to build communities is because I've had trouble joining others. Whereas if I start it myself, then at the very least, I know the people that I bring in, we're going to relate. They and I are going to be cool. And that's really fantastic. I actually had to learn that with this current stream that I run, Tales from the Catacombs, which is focused on Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop RPGs. This is not the first stream that I've hosted, that I've run.
Sure.
This is actually the third one.
Oh, okay.
So but the first two that I ran, on hindsight, and I very distinctly wanted to do this differently. It's one of those situations where I took it for granted that I had people in the chat who were supporting the stream.
Yeah.
I took it for granted that these were people who were more than usernames, which is something that's really easy to do in the technological age, which we grew up in. We had our feet in both worlds, pre and post internet world.
Absolutely.
I I definitely took it for granted earlier that people were there to support. And I kind of learned the hard way that you have to be mindful too of who you let in.
Hmm.
So, what I wanted to do with Tales from the Catacombs was make this a community and be very mindful of every single username that is spending some significant amount of time in there.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky because I want to say it's tricky because we grew up in a kind of way where it, again, with both feet in either side of the world, of the internet world, we used to make friends simply because of proximity. I got the culture shock of going to a public high school. I
Okay.
was super shy, afraid of my own shadow. It was mind-bogglingly different culture in a public school than my private school. And I got very like anxious, but I did, to my credit, to 14-year-old Brenna's credit, I found those niches, right? Which is kind of one of my answers to this whole issue. Go find people who are like you. You don't have to have every little thing in common, but go find people in your niches. If you like tabletop games, go to your friendly local game store. If you like reading, join a book club.
Yep.
They have websites for these things now, meet.com, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does take a level of bravery, I think, that we didn't realize we were going to need, and it feels funny. I
Yeah.
think we still need it though.
Yeah. Do you feel like the fact that we kind of grew up in the internet, that I mean, I'm an old millennial, right? I grew up in the AOL era, but I've watched the internet evolve, and I've watched how these internet communities have evolved to things like what we have, right? With this, the Ross Real Talk community, with your Tales from the Catacombs community. Do you feel like the internet age has made it more difficult to build meaningful relationships with people in person?
I think it has added some layers of challenge there. We are now in this era where it's like twofold. We're in this era where people are kind of like text messaging. People are kind of just a few clicks away, but there's still that anonymity, right? Your keyboard warriors and your, hiding behind a screen and a username,
Right.
and you can keep yourself and this with this buffer in front of you. And it feels like, again, it kind of feels safe that you can speak what you want to speak and people don't quite realize it's you saying it.
Hmm.
There is a level of buffer there that is very different than looking somebody in the eye. So now that we have things, though, like more advanced video calls, you can kind of reform those relationships. But I do think that having the internet, the anonymity, the screens, and hundreds of miles between you and another person definitely hinders kind of making those relationships, despite that there's more people you have access to.
Do you think that's because it makes it easier to kind of say what you want um in the virtual setting, but then you're in some ways crippled in the real life setting? Do you think that's a real, like, part of reality?
I think that's really reasonable to conclude. I do. Because you can kind of, since we've gotten text messaging, even in the earliest days of before emojis, we literally just did a semicolon and a parenthesis, right? Like back in the day.
Yeah.
So but it allowed us to tailor everything we've said. So
Right.
you can where in real life I can't take back that comment that just flew out of my mouth and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I did not mean it like that." You
Yeah.
can't take it back when you speak it. But something healthy about a good friendship is that you should be able to speak your mind truthfully, but charitably, right?
Yeah.
You have the mark of a good friendship is that you can speak your mind honestly, and that person knows from the jump that your intentions are not to hurt their feelings. So
Right.
they shouldn't take it personally. However, you may have said something that did upset them, and you should be able to talk about it.
Yep.
But confrontation is not something that we necessarily are great at. And being able to just ghost somebody or just walk away from a Discord DM
Yeah.
without really solving the problem that is going to that's going to hinder our ability to have a healthy confrontation with someone you care about.
Yep. Yep. So you mentioned, speaking of confrontations, you mentioned, kind of having this repeated pattern for you, once in high school and then again in college, where your friends just kind of disappeared on you. What do you, and without getting into details, just kind of at a high level, what do you think caused the people in your life to disassociate with you at some of these critical times in your life?
Social faux pas.
Oh yeah.
The social faux pas that um otherwise you, in a healthy relationship and healthy friendships, you'd be able to talk about, hey, that thing you said
Right.
didn't feel so nice.
Yeah.
Um, but in these instances, because the relationships on hindsight were very superficial
Mhm.
and I made a mistake, I wasn't given the opportunity to correct the mistake. And I admit, right, like when they did say what went wrong,
Yeah.
right, like had I had a healthier mindset to begin with, I could have, without groveling, right? Have self-respect, of course, but I could have attempted the apology to try and make it right if the relationship was truly worth saving and if I had the knowledge. But I didn't have either of those things because they were in fact superficial.
Yeah.
So I made a mistake, or I did not do what was expected by them. And instead of having the opportunity to fix it, they were just like, boop,
Yeah.
gone, bounce,
Yeah.
don't talk to us anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how confrontation works. This is what I've learned because of those patterns.
Right. That's not fun. Um,
No.
oh man. And I'm of course I'm sorry that you've had to go through that. I've certainly gone through some of that myself in
Yeah.
my life, where actually same thing, right? Like I didn't have great friends in college as an older college student. I had a couple of really good friends, but then I went through a terrible time at the end of my college kind of senior year as an older college student. And just caused a huge separation between me and some of the people that I was closest with. So, yeah, definitely, I've been there as well, and I agree, right? Like you think you've started to kind of create a meaningful relationship with people and a bond with people, but if you're not on the same page, it kind of you know dissolves into something else, right?
Yeah, the thing that you have that is the initial glue of that friendship, that's going to be pretty critical
Yeah.
because what that thing is, if that thing is weak, then like what does your friendship really sit on when times get tough? When
You talked about kind of the initial glue. What is that? Like what is that glue? Like what is the thing that you find is most meaningful? Just again, high level, right? What is the thing that's most meaningful in starting a relationship and starting to build it?
I think it's going to be something, it's going to be on a foundational level. It's going to be morals, right?
Okay.
It's like I need to know if I'm going to put the effort into getting to know a person. Because a fun fact I learned recently is you actually, as a human being, you only have the capacity to truly, deeply, soulfully care about a very precious small number of people.
Yeah.
Like when we have social media and we have the news telling us like 1,000 different things happening 2,000 miles away and we're all up in arms about it,
Right.
that's really stressful on a human being. So
Fair.
we're
Yeah.
not meant to have that many that deep relationships.
Right.
And that's okay. You can have lighter relationships. But if you are going to really deeply connect to another person, even as a friendship, not even as a romantic relationship, but as a friendship, I need to know that you're like you are a good person.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have, like I said, we don't have to have a lot of other things in common, but I know you're a good person there.
Yeah.
So like you want to focus on those foundational things, but in if it's possible, then in those areas that you find enjoyment.
Would you say that what really kind of holds people together is having common ground, common beliefs, like, like shared experiences that, where you're both aimed in the same direction and really kind of like want to walk that path together. Is that kind of your perception?
I think that's a really good way to put it. Is
Okay.
the shared experiences?
Yeah. Okay, so I've done a little bit of my homework here on like behavioral psychology and stuff like that, and I've read this really great book out there, by someone who their whole like lot in life is about they want people to build better relationships, and so I'll go ahead. I guess I'll mention the book because I'm gonna get into it, and hopefully I won't get in trouble with the author. Okay, so there's this book by Vanessa Van Edwards called Captivate, and she talks about the first 5 seconds, first 5 minutes, and I think it's first 5 weeks, something like that. What do you like? What's your perception on that? Do you feel like first impressions? Like if we're talking about first 5 seconds, do you feel like first impressions are really important for you? Both in building, like in creating a new friendship and in creating, maybe perhaps even like a new romantic relationship?
Yes, 1,000%. Next question. No, I'm kidding. But yes, first impressions. That is not a cliche. Now, saying that first impressions can't be changed,
Yeah.
that is, I don't think is true. I think you absolutely can adjust your perception with somebody, but yes, walking up to somebody and how you hold yourself speaks volumes. How you dress yourself speaks volumes. I would like to know, and I think your viewers might like to know more about you.
Okay.
Um, what would you say would be the a relationship that's a friendship that maybe you don't have anymore, or maybe it's lessened, that you kind of wish you had kept at like that deeper level?
Yeah. Oh man. Like a specific friendship or relationship?
As specific as you'd like,
Oh
but
man.
at one point maybe it was a better friendship or like a deeper friendship, and either time passed or proximity. What's a
Yeah.
what's a friendship you kind of wish you could reach back out and just like rekindle?
Yeah. Wow. That is tough because I feel like I've been in a and I don't I say this with a lot of consideration, right? Like a lot of friendships that I've had over the years, I've allowed to fade intentionally. That doesn't mean that's been the case with all of them, but I'm very choosy about the people that I'm closest to today. Um, and so, like you, I would consider you one of my better friends. And like I mean, I think all of my really good friends know who they are. My like absolute best friends, my wife included, certainly know who they are. And it has a lot to do with the level of trust. And so I think the reason that I've let a lot of those, some of those other relationships fade is due to us, either not going in the same direction in life, or a certain amount of trust kind of having eroded over time. And it's not that I don't care about those people. It's not that I don't want what's best for them. It's not that I don't, like want to see them succeed and see them grow and see them, like ultimately become, like the amazing people that I know that they can be. I just think it has a lot to do with the fact that like, I mean, it does take a certain amount of trust to maintain a relationship. And for me at least, when you erode that trust, or just flat out state like I don't want that level of trust from you, which I've had from a really good friend of mine, and I think that would be the one that I would kind of take back. Like I had a friend in college where I went too far, too trusting, too fast, right? Um, and it's because I didn't have that really good guy friend in my life, and I wanted more of that, and like we would like go out, hang out, and drink and just talk about stuff every weekend. So, um, I think that would be the one where I would have maybe done something different. But I also understand his perspective, where it's like, dude, like I've got that one really good guy friend, you know, like I don't need that in my life right now. You know, and then on top of it, like I just had a whole bunch of like drama and baggage going on in my life at that point in time with some like relationship fallout stuff. You know, and so I think that would be the one where I would go back and do something a little bit different. But I wouldn't change it the way it is because it's like you said, people can only handle so much, right? And at that point for me in my life, like I was a lot to deal with for somebody. And you know, like asking somebody to be that person that I could lean on all the time with all of the things that I was carrying was just too much, you know. So I guess that's kind of where I am there. What would you say to someone who wants to build deeper relationships and really doesn't know where to start? What kind of advice would you give somebody like that?
If you don't know where to start,
Where would you have them start?
I think honestly, anything that involves relationships, it starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with knowing who you are and the actual things you like and your priorities. If you're going to dive in and start introducing yourself to a bunch of people in a particular circle, and then you come to realize that that circle actually is not where you want to be, well, now you've got relationships that you've started to build, and somehow you've got to back off there, and it's gonna maybe hurt people's feelings, and you might feel a kind of way about it, a little embarrassed, and that makes it more difficult when our egos get in the way.
Yeah.
For any kind of relationship, it starts with you. What is important to you? What are your priorities? How much attention do you really want on yourself? Is this a mad grab because you're lonely and you're just kind of, oh, I want somebody around just because I don't like being by myself? Or
Right.
do you want some meaningful people to help grow your life?
Yeah.
And I think once you've done that introspection, then you can start reaching out to first of all, leaving your four walls of your house. Please get out of your house and touch grass. It's beautiful. Once you've kind of taken that time to do your introspection, then go out to the places that you'll find common interest.
All right, Brenna, thank you so much once again. This has
Thanks
been
for having me.
a lot of fun. It's been great having you on. And once again, please check out Tales from the Catacombs on Twitch and YouTube. Yeah, please check out Tales from the Catacombs on Twitch and YouTube and other social media areas for more of Brenna, because she's awesome.
You're pretty awesome yourself.
Thanks. We'll leave it at that. Keep looking up. And as always, like, you know, if you enjoyed this, please hit that subscribe button and like this video, because that's the best way you can help support this community and this stream. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.